Deep within this twisted and gnarled forest, a dense fog hangs over the wet, sodden earth, masking the wretched and twisted roots of this treacherous swamp. The heavy air and intense darkness descending upon you is palpable, a suffocating veil that smothers any sound beyond that of your fearful, quickened heartbeat. This is a forsaken place where the boundaries between the living and the dead are concealed, blurred, obfuscated. At the center of this depraved grove stands a wretched hovel, this ramshackle structure, a testament to the malign influence that dwells deep within. The blackened oak door, as ancient, twisted, and dead as the very trees surrounding you, creaks open as the scent of blood and putrefaction assault your senses. Amidst this foul, desolate backdrop, a crooked, shadowy figure emerges. Its contorted, bent silhouette, set against the faint moonlight, chills the marrow in the bravest of bones. This selfish, sinister creature, a vile amalgamation of human and monstrous form, cackles wickedly as it eyes the approach of your party. You have heard the stories. You have read the tales of devious plots and insidious schemes. The fates, it seems, are playing their games of chance with your very lives. For you have stumbled upon a creature of pure malice. You have discovered the lair of the loathsome hag. Right now, on Riches and Liches. Welcome, adventurers. I'm Rich, and this is Riches and Liches, where it's all things Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing. In today's episode, we'll be profiling yet another Dungeons and Dragons monster straight from your votes in one of our latest community polls, and it was oh so close, with the hag just beating out the red cap by a mere percentage point or two. You know, after our Lich and Pit Fiend episodes, I really did try to swing the pendulum back, maybe with a dryad, or perhaps I should have included some fairies or pixies in the poll, but no, not today, my friends. The hag, or the red cap for that matter, will not be swinging us into the whimsical side of Dungeons and Dragons. But I am just a humble narrator. This channel serves each of you, so the hag it is. You Red Cap fans, I read your comments, and fear not, the Red Cap is now in the queue, but your votes do matter on Riches and Liches, and to the victor go the spoils, so Fear the Hag is up first. I have so much to show you today, not just the in-depth lore, but we'll also go really deep into the stat blocks, look at several variants, and if you stick around to the end, I have some really creative homebrews you do not want to miss. I have a fully fleshed out and detailed, creepy and unique lair description, really overbuilt in many ways, but for a reason that I'm going to share with you a little later. Also a myriad of lair actions for you to choose from and use at your table. Now, I wrote these obviously for the hag, but you could easily adapt these to many other situations. I do hope you stick around for that, as I am so excited to share these with you. Okay, my brave friends, brace yourselves. This is not your normal visit to Grandma's house, but I do hope she has cookies. Okay, let's go. The history and origin of the hag is a subject steeped in mystery and folklore of the ancient dark fae. Though their true origin remains obscured, hags are often depicted as ancient and malevolent beings that predate many of the known races in the world. Some theories suggest that hags are the byproduct of dark gods or primordial entities or other powerful supernatural forces that sought to sow chaos, suffering, and despair across the realms. Hags can be traced back to a myriad of mythological and folkloric sources from various cultures. They are typically inspired by legends of witches, crones, or other malevolent female figures who possess a magical set of powers, such as the Russian Baba Yaga, the Scottish Kalalich, or the Slavic Kikomora. Even the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz is a form of the hag that we all know and despise. These figures often hold power over life, death, and the elements, and are known to both help and hinder those who cross their paths, making them incredible role-play tools for your campaign. A hag's appearance is a grotesque fusion of humanoid and monstrous elements. Their withered, leathery skin, gnarled fingers, and twisted bodies make them a horrifying sight to behold, and their malevolent eyes scream deceit, lies, and villainy. Yet despite their monstrous appearance, hags possess an uncanny ability to deceive and manipulate those around them. In fact, hags are anything but one-dimensional. They are selfish, goal-driven, but also smart enough to look out for their best interests. In this respect, hags, if role-played properly, more often than you might think, can provide insight, information, and actual benefit to an adventuring party, so long as they don't get a better offer. If this is your first encounter with a hag, you might have a few questions, and I might have a few answers. How does a hag come to exist? Generally speaking, a hag is created when an existing hag steals and consumes the soul of a humanoid infant. The hag then replaces that child with a changeling, a creature that appears identical to the original child but is destined to transform into a hag once it reaches puberty. You might have heard of a hag coven, or maybe you watched season 3 of American Horror Story. A hag coven is a dark and sinister alliance of hags who band together to pool their magical powers and resources. In the Dungeons & Dragons universe, this union allows the hags to cast more powerful spells and become an even greater threat to you, dear adventurer. Covens are typically only formed out of necessity, as hags are typically very solitary creatures who are reluctant to cooperate with others, even their own kind. However, the lure of increased power and the ability to achieve their wicked goals often proves irresistible. Who does a hag serve? Well, they serve themselves. Always. Even in the service of other greater beings, hags do so with an ulterior self-serving motive. They may form temporary alliances with other dark entities, or even those in the less shadowy lights, such as you and your party, but ultimately, a hag's loyalty only lies with herself. What are the hag's motivations and goals? Hags are driven by an insatiable hunger for power, knowledge, and secrets. In this way, they mirror, at least a little bit, the very lich that we've covered on the Riches and Liches lore show. They delight in manipulating and corrupting others, often orchestrating complex schemes to achieve their ends. What does a hag lair look like? This, my friends, is where your imagination can really take over, something I'm going to show you at the end of this particular show. With so many variant hags that are available to you, not to mention creating your own, the lair of the hag can fit almost any adventure, any campaign, at almost any level. The hag's lair is often a reflection of its own twisted and wicked nature. It may be a dilapidated cottage deep in the woods or a swamp, a crumbling tower atop a windswept cliff, or a shadowy cavern hidden beneath the earth. Expect these lairs to be filled with traps, cursed items, and gruesome trophies designed to deter unwanted visitors and secure the hag's power. How would a hag best be used in a Dungeons & Dragons adventure? A favored question of mine, hags make excellent villains or powerful NPCs in a campaign, specifically one that has a multifaceted or branching storyline that needs to be unwound, or dark secrets that need to be hidden and found. Their cunning and manipulative nature allows them to pull the strings from behind the scenes, play both sides, and orchestrate events to further their own dark plans and agenda. But as I said earlier, that does not mean they should be outright avoided, not if you are a creative DM or a player who understands the secrets that they can hold, and will provide if the terms align with their own self-serving agenda. Okay, but let's say you ultimately need to get physical with these terror-inspiring and evil old crones. It's time to dance. What are the hag's primary combat tactics that you'll need to counter? In combat, a hag relies heavily on her innate magical powers and cunning tactics to confound and destroy her enemies. She'll prefer to use her spells and abilities to first deceive, then weaken, and then control her foes, leaving them vulnerable to the hag's deadly attacks. Let's look at 3 official variants as well as a supplemental hag that I really enjoy using to provide you with some stat blocks that you'll want to familiarize yourself with. First up, the Sea Hag on page 179, armor class 14, hit points 52. The Sea Hag, often found, well, around water, is only challenge rating 2, but they do have a few abilities that would make them quite a tough low-level challenge. They're amphibious, meaning that they can breathe underwater. They have the horrific appearance ability, which allows them to create a frightened condition, and if the target is frightened, they can then perform a death glare on the target, and if that target fails a DC 11 save, boom, 0 hit points. Not bad for a level 2 creature. Stepping up just a bit in terms of challenge rating, we have the Green Hag, found also on the Monster Manual, page 177. Armor class 17, hit points 82, challenge rating 3. Notable abilities for the green hag include the illusory appearance, where the hag can create a flimsy but passable magical illusion that they're not such a horrible looking grotesque monster after all. They also have invisible passage, which lets her become invisible as a concentration until she casts a spell. Next we have the Night Hag, also in the monster manual on page 178, armor class 17, hit points 112. This is a CR5 creature. The Night Hag can present some low-level problems to be sure. They can turn into small or medium-sized females much more convincingly than, say, the Green Hag, often the exact opposite of their normally disgusting look, so the fair maiden types. They also have a Heartstone, no, not Hearthstone, that they can use with the ability Etherealness, and this allows them to pass in between the ethereal and material planes as an action. And if they're on the ethereal plane and they have that Heartstone, they can use an ability called Nightmare Haunting, whereby they can touch a sleeping target, providing horrific nightmares and visions. The target gets no benefit from a long rest and loses 5 max HP for every hour this occurs until such time that their HP are reduced to 0, thus killing the target. This is a great way for a dungeon master to introduce a hag by maybe having the party or a character wake up and they don't have their full hit points. They didn't get the long rest, but maybe they only lost 5 or 10 hit points. That gives them a hint. There's a lot of cool things you can do in playing up the mechanics of the Night Hag. See, who said it's only a dream, that dreams can't hurt you? I don't know about you dream warriors, but I think these ladies are the closest thing that Wizards of the Coast has to a D&D version of Freddy Krueger. And finally, let's pull a hag from a third-party supplement that I own and can highly recommend. It's the Tome of Beasts. I actually recommend and own all 3 volumes, 1 through 3, but this particular creature is on page 242 of Tome of Beasts Volume 1. A big leap from the single-digit CR hags we've seen thus far. We have the Blood Hag. I really like the flavor mechanically to this CR11 creature. The Blood Hags come from vampiric origins, the result of a mad vampire archmage and a red hag, procreating. Yeah, that's a chilling thought. The Blood Hags are known for stealing the seeds of men, yes, I said that right, that allows them to propagate their species, as well as drinking their blood vampire style. Their hair is a writhing mass of blood-drinking worms, kind of making a Medusa seem almost attractive. Armor class of 16, 178 hit points, and a challenge rating of 11, as I said. They have this ability where they can sense the blood of living creatures within 90 feet, making it almost impossible to hide from them if you have blood. They have a litany of spells at their disposal, and they make 3 melee attacks per round with their claws and this blood-sucking hair. They also possess an ability that's called Call the Blood, where they target that very creature that they can sense within 90 feet that has blood pumping through its veins, and then force them to bleed uncontrollably. And as if all of that were not bad enough, they also are face stealers. That's right, using an ability called Face Peel. Why do I now want to watch a John Travolta and Nick Cage movie and eat a peach for hours? Where was I? Oh yeah, face stealing, face peel ability. The Blood Hag can peel the face off one grappled foe for 8d6 damage along with their face. Yeah, this is one fun grandma to put in your next adventure or campaign. Just make sure that your party is capable of surviving this. There are so many variants of the hag in all the supplemental and official books. The Anise Hag, the Red Hag, the Sand Hag, Mirror Hag, Brine Hag, Wood Hag, and that's just a few. And of course, you can always homebrew your own with ease. It's such a versatile canvas to do so many cool things within an adventure or campaign. Speaking of homebrew, I have some really nice creations that I'm very excited to share with you today. But before we move on to these really fun homebrew layers and lair actions, I do have a couple of quick housekeeping notes that some of you might be interested in. We are rapidly approaching 500 subs and beyond. In fact, my guess is by the time you're hearing this, we've already breached 500 subs. So that's amazing. I've already told you guys thank you, but I can't say it enough. It's just been overwhelming. But that means that it's time to prepare for the 500 sub AMAQA episode that I want to start preparing for, but to do that, I need your help. Any questions related to Dungeons & Dragons, tabletop role-playing, world building, homebrew, RPGs in general, personal questions, channel creation, the process, any of that is inbound. I want to connect with you, so ask me anything. I'm also planning some giveaways, and if you ask a question and I use it in the show, you are entered. It's just that simple. You can submit your question in several ways, as you can see here, but there are also links on the channel, and I will also post links in the show notes down below. Discord has been launched mere days ago. Bless the few of you that have already joined and claimed your corner bedrooms and let me know that. You guys are awesome. But the place is large. There's lots of room. So how about you come join us in the Discord server so we can build a really awesome and active community. My Twitter account, brand new. This is actually the first time I've ever even advertised on it. Literally launched days ago. Very lonely. Help a guy out and follow me there so that I can use that as well to communicate and not feel like I'm talking to myself. Also, the Patreon is up, and you can also email at richesandliches@gmail.com. The near-term goals for the channel include getting Discord active so that you, each of you, can help me determine the content that we're covering on Riches and Liches. Help me steer and find the right trajectory for this channel, because again, Riches and Liches is here to serve you. And then once we get to 1,000 subs, I really want to set up a regular live stream so that I can interact with you. You can see my face and I can really interact with you amazing people. I am really looking forward to that. Okay, now that all of that is out of the way, let's homebrew the warts off of this hag. Today, I have both a lair description and quite a few lair actions for a hag of your choosing. This lair description that I wrote, however, it is, shall we say, overbuilt. But I wanted to do this on purpose to illustrate a point. I really don't expect you to use this entire description, although you are certainly welcome to. Nor do I think that every DM should necessarily flesh out every lair to this degree. But that being said, I wrote this lair description as a final encounter, and as a final encounter, I do think it requires that little extra something. Something that should be special. Something that, as a DM, your intent should be to quicken the pulse of your players, to get them scared, get them nervous or excited. You are telling them that this is important. You are telegraphing that this might very well be the final encounter. You're begging them to listen carefully, as the words will hide clues and hints to secrets, to advantages, and to dangers. This lair description is your chance as a DM to create something that your party will not soon forget, a memorable encounter. And to you players out there, let me tell you a not so hidden secret about most DMs, likely about your DM. Ask them what they get most out of this game. Obviously, they love the creation. They love the camaraderie, the friendship. Everybody's hanging out. Of course, that's a lot of fun. Rolling the dice. I get all that. But there's also something special that most DMs will tell you about seeing the look of satisfaction in the eyes of your players when you have them entranced and focused in the moment. When you know that this session or moment will be talked about in the future as a fond memory. That is why DMs do what we do. In the heart of this rotting, fetid swamp, a pallid moon casts its sickly light upon twisted, dead trees, their skeletal branches clawing at the heavy, opalescent fog that blankets this foul landscape. The mournful cries of unseen creatures pierce the air, echoing through the murky quagmire, as if lamenting their own internal imprisonment within this forsaken bog. Your party, weary and mud-spattered, trudge onward as the rain, wind, and increasing chill penetrate every layer of your now heavy clothing. The sickening squelch of each soggy step, a grim symphony of despair and desolation. Your tired eyes catch sight of a decrepit structure rising from the mire, its silhouette a twisted mockery of a once functional windmill. Its sails hang limp and tattered like the wings of a dying moth, as if their very existence was an affront to the howling wind that is now tearing through the decayed swamp. As you approach, the stagnant air grows colder, suffused with a tangible, malignant presence that raises the hair on your arms. The very ground beneath you seems to groan in protest as you advance near this ancient, broken windmill, the swamp's rancid miasma clinging to your skin like a malodorous embrace. The time-worn door creaks open, revealing a truly grisly scene. Inside this windmill-turned sepulchre lies a chamber of noxious alchemy. A nauseating stench permeates the air, the result of the horrifying specimens preserved within this grotesque laboratory. The flickering light of a solitary, guttering candle casts sinister shadows on the cracked and stained floor, hinting at the abominations that have been created in this baleful place. Lining the walls of the chamber are rickety shelves, buckling under the weight of countless jars filled with horrifying specimens. Each jar is meticulously sealed, containing a myriad of monstrous and unnatural entities suspended in murky, repulsive, green, red, and yellowish fluids. Among these specimens, one can find the severed limbs of various creatures, their flesh warped and mutated by some dark magic. In other jars, malformed fetuses of unknown origin float eerily. Their haunting gaze appears to follow your every movement, as though alerted to your intrusion. Near the table, a large blackened cauldron bubbles ominously, emitting a putrid green steam that clouds the air with a miasma of decay. Amid the cacophony of bubbling liquids, tiny creatures skitter and scuttle across the room, within the moon's shadows and down a dark, descending flight of steps. From those depths below, your presence is known by the cackled glee of a wretched voice. Like a cacophony of broken glass, the screeching sounds assault your audible senses, echoing from below like a funeral bell. Your funeral bell. Do you dare descend? For the Lair actions, a note to Dungeon Masters out there. I would always have some branching, non-combat options that are available to your player group. What does the hag want, and can the party help her in any way to further her own personal agenda? But if the party does want to dance, then here are some Lair actions you can consider. And also, please adjust the various damages or DCs to keep the encounter deadly but fair. Any that I've listed here are just for examples. First up, Shattered Sails. The hag can cause the windmill's 4 magical sails, as the party is approaching, to rapidly and unpredictably start spinning. As an action, one of the sails can disintegrate, ejecting shards of wood and metal shrapnel towards the party. All creatures within 40 feet of the windmill's exterior must make a dexterity saving throw or take some form of damage, for example 2d8 slashing on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Next up, Maddening Whispers. The twisted and cruel trophies in this lair emit a dark magic, filling the minds of the hag's enemies with terrifying whispers, visions, and a haunting laughter. Each creature within 60 foot of the hag must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened until the end of the next turn. Creatures that succeed on the saving throw would then be immune to this lair action for the next 24 hours. If you happen to be using a hag that already has a frightening action, then feel free to adjust this to, say, psychic damage from all the horrible visions that the target is seeing. Next up, Vile Eruption. The hag cackles manically as she grabs and hurls one of these vile glass jars that are filled with this disgusting liquid from her collection and throws it at a target. The jar shatters upon impact, releasing a noxious gas that chokes and disorients those that are caught within its radius. Affected targets will then be forced to make a constitution save or suffered from some condition. They could be sickened, they could be poisoned, whatever you want to add, and you could have different jars doing different things. Finally, Unstable Transmutation. With a wicked grin, the hag dabs her finger in this bubbling cauldron and flicks it at a random target. The target then must make a constitution saving throw or be temporarily transmuted into a malformed, grotesque version of themselves. In this state, they would suffer some penalty to their ability scores or have difficulty communicating. This would be a great opportunity to create a random 1d4 or 1d6 table that describes the malady and the effect. For example, one of them could be your eyes begin to grow and bulge out of their sockets while turning sickly, clouded green in color. You have disadvantage on attacks or any saves involving sight. Please remember with all of these to adjust your CR accordingly. I've said it before, I will continue to say it. You don't want to make a fight unfair. In fact, it might not need to be a deadly fight. It depends on your party. So again, adjust accordingly. The Hag, already rich with official and third-party variants, makes a great central character in any adventure where treachery and deceit are woven into a storyline, where critical information must be hidden and secrets must be discovered. This makes for a great storytelling device for your players and one with about as many branching and unpredictable options as you desire in a campaign. I hope you've had as much fun listening to this as I've had sharing it. Don't forget to leave me your question for the 500 sub QA AMA, and please consider following on Twitter at Riches and Liches, checking out our Patreon and Discord, and if you feel like I earned it, sub and ring that bell to help me grow this amazing community. Riches and Liches was created to serve you, so comment below on what you'd like to see us cover next. Thanks for listening, and until next time, remember, the only limitation at your table is your imagination.